Okay, people. So it is March 11th, 2018. Disregard how I look. I'm going outside very soon. It's like 9 o'clock in the morning and it's cold out there. My hands will get cold before I will get cold. So I'm a little reluctant to go outside, but I have all these walnuts, people, that I have to plant. And here's the sad news. The property development that's going up by the walnut trees is in motion. So that means that the black walnut tree that is over 100 years old is being wiped out. Same thing for the English walnut that's the partner to the black walnut. They're going to be cut down. All those pine trees are going to get cut down. That white oak is going to get cut down, which is a very valuable food source for the raccoons and the squirrels and whatnot in the neighborhood. And there's not too many white oak around. Thank God I have some growing in my yard. Right? And I planted some more seeds, nuts last year, so they should be popping up a few more this year. And then the black walnuts that I had them in the X Club in bags in a green bin. But then I moved out the bin, and because the X Club leaks water, a little bit of water got into the bin and it moistened the bags. And then when I got in there a couple days ago, I looked in the bags, there's a mild black walnut mold growth on some of the shells, which is not good because that can get into the shell and kill the nut, right? But I had an English walnut that was kind of molded over and I stepped on it and there's something in there. So anyway, long story short, I have to go out in the yard and I got to plant as many as I can and just hope that they take root, at least half, right? So if I have 100 nuts, try and plant 100 nuts, and if I can get 50 trees out of it, well, then I'm happy, right? Because there's no guarantee that they'll continue to live for the second year, because in the infant stages of a black walnut, they're very fickle and very fragile. They don't like to be touched, and it takes a while for them to germinate. And I already have some in the yard in planter pots that I put in before winter, right? Just as the end of fall was there, I started to do that. So we'll see what happens with those ones. Those ones may, and I have an actual horse chestnut tree growing, people. I seen the roots yesterday. I'm so excited. Right? So we got one horse chestnut growing, and hopefully that will become a nice little tree. And the apple trees on my grandson's windowsill, there's quite a few of them. There's like 8 of them growing. They're about this big, right? So we got apple trees growing, right? So anyway, so I'm just going to go out in the yard. Like, I haven't been doing videos of any kind because I just been taking a break from videos. Don't really know what to say other than what I've already said in terms of what I have to do for Uncle John and what's going on with the house. What's going on with the house right now is it's been determined that it needs to be taken more serious in regards to making house rules, right? So I've asked a couple of people just to start brainstorming on those rules and write them down, and then we're going to have like a group meeting and decide what are the best rules for the house, right? Because, everybody's on their own schedule and they have their own ideas of what it means to be independent, but they don't necessarily know how to live in a group setting, especially when that setting is very small and confined, right? With the knowledge that it's only temporary, so it's not like anybody can really put down roots, right? So that, always feeds into that insecurity, especially if you're coming in off the streets and you're looking at maybe possibly having to go back out onto the streets after this house becomes no longer a house. And it's that fast, people, because where the black walnut trees are, the house that's next to it vacated yesterday, which, by the way, I have this old, over 100-year-old piano, right, that was going to get trashed in terms of a bulldozer coming down and just smashing up the house and hauling it off in a dump truck. And just at the last moment, I went over and I asked, you know, I knew the people that were living there, and I knew the circumstances and how they moved in, and I knew that when it came time to leave, that they were going to be facing the housing crises, and who lived there before was a woman with her adult children, right? And it was always temporary when she moved in, but it was the only place at the time before she moved in that she could afford for her family. So they took it knowing that at some point they were going to be forced out because of the property development, right? Well, that happened. And I noticed about 3 or 4 days ago, this is how the piano came about. I noticed like 3 or 4 days ago, right? The U-Haul, right? And the sign for this property development, this 5-story senior building with daycare underneath, is all up now. And Andre and I, we're crying. Well, I'm crying. Well, Andre's starting to, you know, we're starting to cry and mourn for these trees as they're going to be ripped down. So he wants me to take video, right? He wants to go do a video on the trees and talk about this because it's disturbing. It's disturbing to us, right? So noticing that truck, I thought yesterday, this is how fast the piano came about. I thought yesterday, well, I'll just pop in, you know, see, you know, just, I knew what was happening, but I just, you know, I wanted to touch base with a woman that was living there and see how she's, you know, did she find a place, and is it affordable, and in light of what I work on, people, right? Because I don't just focus on homeless people. I'm like, there's a woman that my daughter knows that needs housing with 3 children, right? So the landlord that I'm currently dealing with, I asked him if maybe he knows of anybody that has a main floor of a house, right, for her and her brother and the 3 children, because, you know, she works and go to school. She's from El Salvador, right? And because she's facing housing. So you know, I'm really interested in the housing crises in general. So I went over there, right? Oh, you know, I see you're packing up, and I see the sign up on the property there, and the walnut trees are going to be cut down like very soon, and you know, and I'm standing there and I'm looking in the garage, and I as they're packing up this U-Haul, right? And I see this piano, and my daughter Shimei plays the piano. And I've been wanting to get her a piano forever, people. She has a keyboard piano. I have keyboards, but I don't have an actual piano. And I'm looking at it, and I said, oh, that's a piano. I said, are you guys taking the piano? Like, because she said, you know, they had till 1 o'clock and they were out of there. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, is that your piano? Well, no, it was here when we moved in. In other words, it was abandoned, because she moved into a house that was going to be only rented out temporarily until the city approved the property development, to which it has now done. So now the overseer of this property development is vacating these people by 1 o'clock, right? Because he was out there too, right? Talking to some other dude over there on a different property, which is all connected because they own like 3 or 4 properties, right? And that's how they're going to build this complex. And she says, no, you know. And I'm like, well, can I have it? Right? And she goes, yeah, well, nobody wants it, right? Blah, 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 right? That pile over there has been abandoned by the guys that lived in the basement, and now they're homeless. And I said, well, I don't want their stuff. I just want the piano for my daughter, right? And I look at the piano, and by the grace of God, people, it was on wheels. You know, what's the chances of getting a piano on wheels, right? So in my mind, I'm thinking, well, it's on casters. That means I can bring it home, right? So, you know, and then I noticed a dude on the next property, right? And I said to the woman, I said, do you think that's the owner of this? What's going on? And she, whatever. So long story short, I went over there. I introduced myself to him, and it turns out he was the overseer of this project. And I brought up the subject of the piano, and he said I could have the piano too, right? So I got permission to have this piano, and by the grace of God, this piano had casters. So now I've got this 100-year-old piano in my basement that I'm going to resand it and refinish it, right? And I'm going to have somebody come in and service it. There's a couple of keys that stick, but that could be very well because the wood is expanded from moisture. When the wood will dry out completely, those keys that are sticking and they stick, that may release itself because it's like a dresser. If you have a dresser that's outside for any length of time or in a damp, garage or whatever, the wood will swell and the drawers are hard to move. But once you bring the dresser inside and let it completely dry out, because this is older wood that we're talking about here, people, right? Like I like older dressers, and this is a 100-year-old piano, so you have to think and it's a grand piano, baby grand piano, right? With the original ivory keys because of the time era that it was built in. This one lady was telling me all about it, right? I'll show it to you. So, and I'm like, oh my God, I got this piano, right? So I managed to rustle up some guys to help me wheel it home, and now it's in the basement, and I'm going to resand it, and we're going to get somebody to come in. My daughter and I are going to get somebody to come in and service it, and I'm going to put it in the basement. So the point of that is, people, is those trees that are being cut down are over 100 years old. Literally. And like I said, for my grandson and myself, it's a very mournful experience now because we don't get to go there every day and count walnuts and pretend that we're in a forest or pick blackberries or, just be with nature, because you couldn't get any more in touch with nature with what I was doing with my grandson for several years when he came back from foster care. When he first went in for the first month or two, when we first started, he was very shy, very timid, very scared, right? But by the end of it, he knows how to harvest walnuts, people, and he's not afraid, and he's determined. So it taught him a lot, and now we're growing walnut trees. But at the end of the day, those trees are being cut down. So I felt like I feel like I am losing, and my grandson's losing, and the community is losing 100 years of growth and history in terms of what British Columbia is supposed to represent. For demolition to build, to push out people. If that makes sense. Because they're not recycling this house. They're not doing anything. They're coming in with a fucking thing and then just smashing it up and loading it into a dump truck and they're driving off with it. Right? I told him that my son wanted to put a bid in to cut the trees because my son cuts trees, right? And he can do it through his boss's business, right, in terms of legality, right? Because my son works for a legitimate business man, right? And the man that I was talking to, his name's Charles. He was an Asian man of some sorts. I mean, to someone like me, in terms of him looking at me as an individual, going on about walnut trees, right? I'm pointing out this one, that one, that one, that one over there. I pointed out the apple tree. I didn't tell him that the cherry tree was cut down. You're cutting down maple tree. You're cutting down 2 apple trees. You're cutting down 2 walnut, maybe three English walnut trees. You're cutting down a white oak tree. You're cutting down like 20 fucking trees. And not only that, but just with the fact that you're destroying this house in a matter of a day or 2 just so that you can move on with your project while you force more people out into a housing shortage where it's desperation. And the woman was telling me that everything that she was phoning was nothing but a freaking ripoff, right? In terms of everybody running game, right? In terms of, landlords charging too much for dumps. Okay, because when you're on a fixed income below, in terms of if you can't afford $3,000 a month in rent, and I'm talking 2005, 2000, well, even, yeah, 2005, 6, 7, 8, right? If you're in the $1,200, $1,500 range at that time period, you're getting housing, but you're getting housing with problems. Whether it's through neglect on the landlord's part, or whether it's just old age on the building's part, right? The point is, anything below, because Uncle John and I've been through it, people. I know what's going on, okay? I know the housing market in a different kind of way versus, from a landlord's point of view, trying to make a profit, right? So, it's the fact that, he was just, this back to Charles, right? He just, oh, well, interesting, but on with business, right? And it's just, what it does, people, is it brings me to full circle, right? It brings me to full circle to the foundation that I work on, because as I'm working with the people over there at the little house, right? The happy little house. We're not quite happy yet, but we're working on it, right? What's happening is every second day or third day, sometimes daily, depending, because I go every day. Every day I am connecting with somebody. I connect with people at different levels at different times, and I try and connect with them, right? As an individual, right? But through that, I'm meeting other people that are coming in, visiting, because, there's a lot of friends. I'm dealing with a lot of friends here, right? And, they're asking me for housing. Do you have any rooms to rent? And I'm like, no, I don't. And I'm like, I feel bad, right? Because I can see the numbers, right? In terms of the numbers asking me. And if I was to take a registry, people, in terms of, here, sign up, I think those numbers would rise very quickly. And that's not factoring in the mums with the adult children, such as myself, just like that woman over there who lost her housing. Or the mums that go to school and work with the little children that need housing. Because when I asked Towinder, right, the little house landlord, to help me find some housing for the woman with her 3 children, if he can, I specifically requested the main floor of the house for the benefit of the children, because, she paying $1,500 with hydro included for a 3-bedroom basement suite that's illegal, that's had many issues. That's not quality living, right? So, just as I'm trying to build in the housing for the most vulnerable in terms of being completely homeless, to those being forced out of their housing, right? Whether they're moms or working dads or whatever it is, like families, right? In terms of children or adult children or both, or grandmas with grandchildren, right? It just keeps me on track. There's that full circle. I kind of lost what I was trying to say, but, what's going on over there, what's going on over here, what's going on over here, here's the starting point. It goes to over there, it goes to the mums with the kids, it goes over here to the homeless, it goes, and then it comes right back here. So, many times I want to give up on the nonprofit because I'm tired, people. And I tell those people over there too, like, I'm tired. They don't, I remind them that I have been doing this for 18 years. 18 years. I've invested more than $40,000, and, the nonprofit on the low ball owes me like $28,000, which I don't ever expect to see. And, they don't understand the effort that it took to get to where we are right now in terms of that full circle to where I can sit here and talk to you, the viewer, and try and bring in at least awareness. Where's the awareness cutting down the black walnut tree? Well, you're cutting away 100 years of history, right? And you're creating a crisis as you do it. which is not sustainable, people, unless it becomes genocide in Canada. So, but by the grace of God, there's got to be some hope in there, because why the heck did I get a 100-year-old piano on casters when I simply went over just to see what was going on, to confirm that she was moving out and that buildings were going to be, the trees were going to be tore down, and and just by chance the overseer was there and told me that they're just chopping down that house like instant, and I'm really, right? I mean, oh my God. So I have to work on the nonprofit, people. I have to continue working on the nonprofit, because if it was my time to give up, I don't think I would have gotten that piano. Right? But that piano is going to sing. Once she's fixed up, it's going to sing, because my daughter has talent. Hold on. I think my son's coming upstairs. Okay, so that was my son. Anyway, here's his piano. You can see. Right? How does this work? Whoa. There it is right there. Right? You can see. I actually like the sound of this one. See? But, like I said, that may correct some of itself when the wood gets to fully dry out, because it was in the garage, right? For years. Imagine that, people. Can you imagine that? Isn't this just the most loveliest thing you've ever seen? Look at that. I know there's not a lot of light in here. Okay? Or maybe it's the camera, for all I know. I don't know. I'll bring a flashlight. See, these things, I hope they can fix them. That one. This one here is always a problem. This one's really loose. It's lovely. Okay, people. Same day, March 11th, 2018. So my son is taking on the project of building this pond. So all I'm going to do is just clear it out and get it ready, because he wants to do it. And he has some ideas, so we'll just follow up on that as it goes along, right? It's going to be his feature project. So we're going to go look at he said, well, you did your pond, let me do mine. This is my pond, people. Andre's and mine. As you can see, it's holding up pretty nice. So the one time when it drained, it was only because of the ice. It backdrafted. But look at that. Isn't that a beautiful pond? The one that my son is going to work on, hopefully we're going to be able to, and why are we not surprised, people? Mickey the gardener cat. She said, this is my favorite time of the year. I get to be a camera ham. There's a lot of algae in there. Like, that thing is covered in algae. Maybe I'll get some teeny weeny little fish, but the raccoons are so wicked. Oh, look at that algae. Can you see that, people? The algae is growing. That's something for underneath the microscope. It's actually in strands in there. Anyway, doing pretty good. So I am planting walnuts today, people. Like I said, and try and get these things going. I need to fix the bottoms, but I don't know. I don't really have time, but I've got other ones I can start with first. But look at this. You see, caught it just in time. So I've got a fair amount of them in here. You can see. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick them in the ground. Not everyone will catch. Some of them will. And then the ones that don't, dig them out. You can boil them and use them for crafts. Some of them have to go to Brazil. Somebody in Brazil is waiting for me to order some. I'm sorry, send them some. They want me to send them some. So I'm going to pick probably 10. But there's no guarantees, right? Because like I said, I stuck them in a... Oops, sorry. I stuck them in that bin. And then the bags got a little moist. But it's just surface, right? Because black walnut tends... This one's good. This one can go to Brazil. They have a herbatorium up in Brazil. So anyway, that's what I'm doing. And then we've got those ones. Those are the English walnut. And I stepped on one to see if it's still viable. And there's enough in there to start a tree. So all those are going in the ground today.
Okay. Okay, people. What day is it?
March 11th, 2018.
So today is March 11th, 2018. Okay, so I made this all by myself, so I didn't need help. You see?
What it is.
It's a car wash with right there. Water comes through and it comes out right there. See the dripping? The water goes down, roof, and there's a cup. Put the cars in, and it goes out. See? It goes out for the backs, for these holes, because I did fix them. Well, it's kind of ridiculous. Well, I made this all by myself. See the roof? See the holes? The water just goes in, and I just don't know where that goes. Guess I can put that right there. Perfect. Boom. See? The stick. Not my shadow. That's the stick. And it goes there. To there. See those bricks I made? And the hose goes all the way over there. Oh. And let's go see what Niall's doing. Now, let's talk about you, too. Okay? Let's talk about what you're doing today.
What am I doing?
Now, you tell the story.
No, you tell the story. What am I doing? Well, show. Look. Don't have it look on the ground. Nana's getting her what on? Exercise.
Yeah. No, you're not.
Are you paying attention to the camera?
Yeah.
See? You got a pretty strong Nana, even though she's not feeling that great.
Oh, now
She's
you.
still pretty strong.
No, you better tell the story. Because I don't want to tell. I just told mine.
I'm just doing the yard. I'm planting walnuts, black walnuts and English walnuts.
Yeah. You want to see?
Yeah.
There's the dirt. And we're planting stuff right here. I don't know what that is.
That's all black walnuts and English walnuts.
Yeah, they're all black.
That's what I'm doing.
This one is there.
Okay, turn it off now.
Oh. Okay, people, so here's my cars. So, see?
Make sure you're paying attention to the camera.
See? Look. I cleaned them up. I just cleaned them up with my hands. I put them in the water. See? They're going to get clean. They're going to get clean soon. At some point. See? My car's already dirty. So I can't wash off that because it's kind of hard. So it's weird. Why is it doing that? Never mind. Let's get them out of here. See how shiny this car is? Well, he's all clean. I put him in the sun, the water. But this car, he's kind of crazy. Because he's going like, Look, Holy moly!